Hello, and welcome back to Weekend Cartoon Reviews. This time, we're reviewing Paw Patrol the Dino movie. Animated by Paramount, who haven't been doing so hot lately, from sabotaging the marketing of Transformers 1, and alongside the backlash of Avatar not releasing in theaters, it seems these guys just cannot win lately. I've reviewed the last two Paw Patrol movies on this channel, so before I dive into the new one, I will talk about the last two first. The first Paw Patrol movie was alright. It was a good time waster back when it came out when I was 18, and it was streaming on Paramount Plus. So I decided to skip theaters for it, because at the time, I felt embarrassed going to a movie in the theater that was clearly made for toddlers. Now I just don't care. But at the time I cared about going to see Paw Patrol because I was an adult in a theater full of really young kids, but at one point, I just didn't care because I did go see Paw Patrol the Mighty movie in the theater. In any case, my only exposure to Paw Patrol back then was through my younger cousin, who loved the show. So when going into these movies, I at the very least knew the basics of the show and what to expect. The second Paw Patrol movie I enjoyed even more. Thought it was a fun watch and better than I expected. When it comes to these movies, I set my expectations low. That goes for any movie based on a property made for preschoolers. They aren't bad movies. They respect the time of parents and kids, and they are paced good, and have enough to where I actively ask myself, this is a Paw Patrol movie? Why are they trying this much? In general, I try to be nicer towards movies made for that young of an audience. And then there's the recent Gabby's Dollhouse movie, in which I wasn't very nice to. Still stand by the fact that I agree with all my criticisms I gave that movie. I know I was pretty mean toward it in my review, but again, we'll revisit that one soon enough in two ranking videos. Now, did Paw Patrol the Dino movie live up to its predecessors? No. No, it didn't. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I did hope that it would be like the last two movies, and I hope the Paw Patrol fan base doesn't kill me for this one. But everything I thought the first two movies were good about, they weren't good about in this one. The pacing, despite the movie having around the same runtime as the first two films, felt like it was a slog to get through. The movie follows the pups leaving Adventure City to explore an island inhabited by dinosaurs, in which it's the only island where dinosaurs still exist. Unfortunately for them, Mayor Humdinger returns and wants to exploit the island for its resources. Most of the movie felt like aimless bullshit. I apologize to any parents watching this video with their kids. We cuss a lot here on this channel. This movie is about what I thought the other Paw Patrol movies would be. I assumed they'd be boring and unappealing to me because of its target demographic, in which, I try to judge these as if I was like a 5-year-old watching this, or if I was a parent taking my kid to go see this movie. That's the middle ground I have for these. I assumed they'd be boring and unappealing, as I said before, but you've seen my other reviews probably. Anyways, these three movies clearly follow a formula. And that's fine. I don't care in that regard, because again, movie for preschoolers. That's not what I'm complaining about. The first two movies just did this correctly, and knew what an actual movie was, while appealing to the lowest demographic first, and everyone else second. They were good about this. The first movie focused on Chase and his struggles on facing his fears, and the second movie focused on Skye and her struggles on feeling insignificant, which they were good at weaving them into the story without it feeling forced. Marshall is the film's focus this time, and he's dealing with struggling with constantly screwing up. I bring this up because despite the first two movies having a clear focus on one pup, it didn't feel like the rest of the cast was sidelined as a result, unlike this one. Sometimes I forgot I was watching a Paw Patrol movie, because at times it really didn't feel like one, but not in the same way as the first two. Ryder, for example, had a much stronger presence in the first two movies, and in this one he just doesn't. The film does primarily focus on Marshall and this new character named Rex, who's lived on the island for a long time. Like I said, the first two movies were good about not making me forget that there's other Paw Patrol members. But if you were to only show me this movie, and only this one, I wouldn't remember who any of the other pups were. or what their purpose was, because you could probably remove them from the story and not much would change. The humor also felt weaker in this one. Not to say I expect these movies to be the best comedies ever. It just felt like the jokes were a lot more juvenile compared to the first two movies. The second one had me chuckle at times, which surprised me, and the first one made me smirk a little bit. The first one wasn't shy of juvenile humor either, because it wasn't the only thing the film had to offer. It had a cancel culture joke at one point, and there were some moments, but like that were juvenile. But you're gonna want to throw those in for the babies. But in this movie, it just felt a lot more excessive. The only part that made me laugh somewhat was the opening rescue mission. And that's what made me think, okay, this will be like the other Paw Patrol movies. Alright, I'm in for a semi-decent time. Speaking of the rescue mission, know how I said this movie felt like aimless bullshit? This is what I mean. The characters just do stuff on the island that doesn't affect the plot at all. Like, you can set up the world, that's great and fine and all, but the movie has way too much setup and little stakes. The other movies had clear danger throughout them for a majority of the runtime. The first one had Mayor Humdinger going around endangering civilians while getting elected for mayor, and there were stakes the entire time. The second one upped those stakes by introducing a new villain endangering Adventure City with meteors. And as you, the audience, can feel the danger because it's there from start to finish. The third one does not do what I just described. There are rescue missions, yes, but they're so spread out and they're so disjointed compared to the first two. And there's no real stakes or overarching narrative or danger until the third act of the movie, unlike the first two films. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here, because again, this movie did not feel like Paw Patrol. The rescue mission stuff was good, but was weaker here, and felt like an actual plot for the film was non-existent as a result. For everything I gave Gabby's Dollhouse, at the very least I can say there was a story. Even if I think that it's a worst movie, I can acknowledge that it at least had a story. Granted, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. There are things I did enjoy in this one, and I will acknowledge that if I was a 5-year-old, I'd probably enjoy it. It's not worth getting super worked up over. If I had a child who wanted to see it, I wouldn't be dreading the time. At the end of the day, Paw Patrol is not made for my age group. This is why I go into these preschool movies with low to no expectations. That way I can judge it fairly, while also not giving it too much shit, because you could be watching worse movies. Also, the new song from the Backstreet Boys was fire. Overall though, if you have a child, and they love Paw Patrol, they'll probably enjoy this movie. If you're my age and you enjoyed the film, that's great. I'm 23 years old, by the way. I'm glad you can find enjoyment out of something I simply didn't enjoy as much. I did like the first two movies. So, to the Paw Patrol fan base, I plead with you. Can we agree to disagree on this one? Please? What the fuck was that?